You're watching the Grilled Cheese News with Lacey Page, Lindsay Fiorenzi, Isaac Cobbs, Chris Deemers, and our live shot from Dominic Faust.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Grilled Cheese News. I'm Lacey Page.
And I'm Lindsay Fiorenzi. And here's today's news. It's the feud that has it all. A storm is brewing between Mike Pence, Adam Rippon, and the newspaper USA Today. Adam Rippon is the first openly gay male to qualify for the Winter Olympics, while Pence has been known to oppose gay rights and support conversion therapy, which is the idea that you could turn a gay person straight through medical procedures. Pence's camp has denied claims that he supports conversion therapy and say that that was falsely reported. It started when Rippon criticized the White House for giving Pence the ceremonial role to lead the U.S. at the opening ceremony. Rippon then declined an invitation to meet with Pence prior to the Olympic Games. In an interview with USA Today, Rippon said, "I would absolutely not go out of my way to meet somebody who has gone out of their way to not only show that they aren't a friend of a gay person, but that they think that they're sick." A spokesperson for Pence has pushed back by claiming that they didn't even ask Rippon to meet. Pence then went on to lash out at the newspaper on Twitter. One tweet said, "Headed to the Olympics to cheer on Team USA. One reporter trying to distort an 18-year-old non-story to sow seeds of division. We won't let that happen. Hashtag fake news. Our athletes are the best in the world, and we are for all of them. Hashtag Team USA." The journalist who wrote the article fired back by saying, "The report is true and therefore will not be corrected." Rippon's team backed up the USA Today by confirming that the vice president's team did reach out to Rippon's team for a meeting. So this raises the question, should Adam Rippon meet with Vice President Pence? I am totally on Rippon's side. I do not think he needs to meet with Pence. Some would argue that Rippon is disrespecting the office. I don't see it that way at all. I mean, this guy pretty much disregarded his entire existence. I see this as someone who is exercising their freedom of speech. It is a symbolic way of saying, I don't agree with your policies regarding gay rights. We are in a different time. Gay people are here and they are here to stay. People need to stop acting like they are some kind of monster. And the idea of conversion therapy is absolutely ridiculous. It has been debunked by the entire medical community. We are progressing as a nation, and we can't move forward if people don't respect gay rights. Mike Pence and the conservatives have such an old world way of thinking. They are so close-minded, it's not the 1940s anymore. New times call for new policies. All people should be able to express themselves however they feel is fit. Mike Pence thinks everyone needs to think the same way he does. He doesn't think about the fact that his policies affect everyone. It's very offensive. Now here's Lacey with the story on Larry Nasser.
Thank you, Lindsay. Disgraced Dr. Larry Nasser has been transferred to a high-security prison. He was first sentenced in July 2017 for child pornography charges. He was sentenced to 60 years. He was then sentenced to 40 to 175 years behind bars after he admitted to 7 counts of sexual assault of minors in January. He then received an additional 40 to 125 years sentence for 3 more counts of sexual assault. Nasser was the former doctor for the USA gymnastics teams. He has been charged with sexually abusing over 100 young girls. This man is expected to die in prison. A woman doctor would have never done what he did to these innocent victims. Girls trusted this man, and families put their trust in Nasser, and look what he has been doing for decades. There isn't enough justice in the world that can serve for these crimes this man has committed. Why are women always being put in these situations where people of trust do things to harm them? When will these pointless crimes against women stop? When can women trust going to their doctors again women without fear of being raped or touched inappropriately by them? What steps must women take to ensure they are being protected enough? Is enough already. This man has power over these young girls, and he abused it. He made them feel that what he did was right. These brave girls finally came forward and were able to tell their stories and look this man in the eyes as they testified against him. The system has failed these young women athletes. The system needs to be fixed. What steps do we go to ensure this never happens again? How can we expect more upcoming athletes to trust their male doctors? How do we ensure our girls that they are safe? Nasser will live out the rest of his life in a high-security federal prison in Arizona that treats sexual offenders. But what about the lives of all the girls he affected? Now to Isaac with Starbucks.
Let's get to the topic of private businesses. The famous coffee shop chain Starbucks is now facing a lawsuit from a California family. Amanda and Louis Weiss from Redlands, California, are trying to sue Starbucks after they found blood from a barista inside their drinks. The incident happened back in 2016. The Weisses ordered multiple drinks from the store in San Bernardino. They said that one of the drinks had a strong metallic smell. Amanda Weiss says she could see blood on the inside of the cup. Her and her 2-year-old daughter were drinking a Frappuccino when they noticed the blood, and the family decided to notify Starbucks about this because they confirmed that no one in the house was bleeding. They believe that the only logical way there could have been blood in the cup is from a Starbucks employee. The manager at Starbucks tried to offer the Weisses free drinks for a week, and they wanted the employee who bled in their drink to get a blood test to see if he or she had HIV. The issue here is that the lawsuit states that the company was not allowed to make their employees be tested for HIV, but the family decided to just take the test themselves and see if they contracted the disease. And fortunately, they didn't get any diseases, but this situation as a whole gave them extreme distress. Starbucks also offered each family member $1,000 for their troubles. The family still didn't accept the offer. It's as if Starbucks is trying to be as cheap as possible in order to just get with the situation over with. It's an issue with big businesses that the owners don't want to lose any money under any circumstance. On top of that, there's so many Starbucks shops across the nation, and it seems possible that an incident like this could happen again in many other locations. Of course, these private businesses might be helping our economy as a whole, but these big companies need to be careful and not allow incidents like what happened to the Weiss family happen again. We don't want the government to get involved and try to shut down businesses like Starbucks over completely preventable incidences. We need these private businesses to keep growing and keep the public spending going on. And with that, Starbucks also needs to not be cheap and owe the family what they deserve. The Weisses have the right to voice their opinion and do what they need to do to get justice. Equality needs to be in order here, and the Weisses are seeking unspecified amounts of damages, including negligent training and supervision. Spokesman Reggie Borges said they've been working with the family to resolve the situation that happened almost 2 years ago. He says that because this has become a lawsuit, they are fully prepared to make a case on this matter. Now here's Chris with the tax bill and the Democratic memo.
While American taxpayers were sleeping soundly overnight, congressional Republicans were planning to pass the second largest spending increase in 10 years. The Republican-operated Congress voted to raise caps on spending by $300 billion during the next 2 years. Government spending has been estimated to increase by $1.5 trillion. That's a shame for the Americans to take the word of the Republicans. These are the same people who made promises to cut spending and reduce the size of the government. The U.S. Armed Forces, without a doubt, need every penny assigned in the budget, but domestic spending is rampant. According to the Republicans, the Democrats were willing to hold the military hostage, so they had no choice but to approve the spending increase. The Republicans surrendered to the demands of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, instead of taking their case to the American people and standing their ground. The American taxpayer was defended by the House Freedom Caucus and Senator Rand Paul, who did stand their ground and hold the line. The bottom line from that is Republicans do not plan to honor their pledge to the taxpayers. The Republicans told Americans they needed control of the House before they could get anything done. So they got control of the House. Then nothing ever got done. They said they needed control of the Senate. So they got control of the Senate. Still, nothing ever got done. Then they told us they needed control of the White House. So we elected Donald J. Trump as the President of the United States. The government is still developing and spending is running rampant. The frustration towards the Republicans comes from them saying that if there were to be a change in Washington, it will require more Republicans in Congress. So if you are fooled more than once by a politician, they are probably a congressional Republican. That's what I thought, that they would have our side, but they obviously don't. In other news, the Grassley-Graham memo verifies the claims in the Nunes memo that the Obama Justice Department and FBI used anonymously sourced Clinton campaign-generated innuendo to convince the FISA court to issue surveillance warrants against Carter Page. In doing so, they concealed the Clinton campaign's role. Though the Trump campaign had cut ties with Page shortly before the first warrant was issued in October 2016, the warrant application was based on wild allegations of a corrupt conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin. Moreover, the FBI could seize not only Page's forward-going communications, but any past emails and texts he may have stored, including his Trump campaign communications. With its verification by the Grassley-Graham memo, the Nunes memo now has about 1,000 times more confirmations than the Steele dossier. The basis of the heinous allegations used by the Justice Department and FBI to get the FISA warrants, what the Grassley-Graham memo tells us is that the Nunes memo, for all the hysteria about it, was tame. The Grassley-Graham memo tells us that we need not only a full-blown investigation of what possessed the Obama administration to submit such questionable applications to the FISA court, but of how a judge, or perhaps as many as 4 judges, rationalized signing the warrants. We need full disclosure: the warrants, the applications, and the court proceedings. No more games. Senators Charles Grassley of Iowa and Lindsey Graham of South Carolina are senior Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, which Grassley chairs, while Graham chairs a relevant subcommittee. They composed their memo in support of a criminal referral recommending that dossier author Christopher Steele be investigated for making false statements to the FBI, which is a felony. Initially, the senator's memo was withheld, then it was released with extensive redactions because its contents were largely classified and covering submissions to the FISA court. But following the release of the Nunes memo, the memo prepared by Republican majority staff of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, led by Representative Devin Nunes, Senators Grassley and Graham stepped up their admirable efforts to get more information unsealed so that the public can see it, even if the press prefers not to cover it. Well, we got Dom, and he's live right now, so why don't we go ahead and see what's going on. What's happening, Dom?
Thanks, Chris. In national news, a nationwide action has taken place that has brought together teachers, students, and community members to fight against racism and for educational justice. Thousands of educators, students, and others have been inspired to launch a Black Lives Matter at School campaign. This campaign will take place across the nation for 1 week. The purpose of this campaign is to fight against institutional racism, school closures, and high-stakes standardized testing. Now, some people would argue that this would be a bad time with starting this kind of campaign because of the current Trump administration. The Trump administration is known for having politicians that hate civil rights and the public school system. The Trump administration is also known for pushing their agenda to break down teaching unions and to privatize K-12 education. While these are hurdles to overcome, the Black Lives Matter at School Committee has come up with 3 key demands: end zero tolerance, discipline and implement restorative justice, hire more Black teachers, and mandate Black history and ethnic studies in K-12 curriculum. Now, there are over 20 different teacher unions that have endorsed this campaign, along with some prominent activists, including journalist Sean King and Black Lives Matter co-founder Opal Tometi. The number of Black teachers have seen a nationwide decrease by 26,000, while the overall teaching population has increased by 134,000. Research studies have shown that black students are more than 3 times likely to be suspended or expelled as white students, and that black girls are 7 times more likely to be suspended than a white girl. Some believe this connection is part of racist policies and processes referred to as school to prison pipeline. Activist Price stated that we know from research that students, not just black students, but all students, need to have access to black teachers and teachers of color. They further go on to say that black teachers are not superheroes, but we don't have black teachers in society. What does that teach students about what they can aspire to and who owns the knowledge? Now, this campaign has varied between different cities and schools. In Vermont, a high school named Montreal High School raised Black Lives Matter flag, and in Seattle's teachers and students held a rally at Garfield High School. Now, the most impact places during this campaign was the classrooms. Teachers created special lesson plans for each day to correspond with the Black Lives Matters at School campaign. This campaign has shown to be beneficial to the students as well as the teachers. Many organizers of the campaign are also surprised at how well the Black Lives Matter at School has gone, being that we live in a repressive atmosphere. Seattle teacher and activist states that we found a way for the Black Lives Matter movement to have an expression on a national scale. This is Dominic Faust. Now back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Dom. And that is your news from the Grilled Cheese. Thank you for joining us and have a good day.